Cost of living in Tennessee versus Kentucky. Tennessee and Kentucky have some similarities, including their rich landscapes, but Tennessee has a lot of benefits if you're thinking of relocating. Now, since they're border states, you are likely to find much of the same scenery and activities in Tennessee and Kentucky. While Kentucky has some benefits to living in the state, such as the cost of housing, Tennessee does have lower tax costs, among other things. Tennessee is one of the states that has the lowest cost of living in the United States, so if you're considering a change to similar scenery with lower cost of living, Tennessee might be the place for you. Now, when you're looking at the housing market in Kentucky, in general, houses cost less in Kentucky than they do in Tennessee. Now, there are several reasons for that, so feel free to check out the best places to live in Tennessee if you want to compare the way of life between the two. However, in terms of housing costs, we're going to break down a comparison of the state of Tennessee versus Kentucky, as well as a comparison of the capital cities of Nashville versus Frankfort. We're confident that seeing the analysis of these comparisons will help you understand the differences in housing costs. So here we go, average housing costs in the state of Tennessee. Now, the average cost of a home is $277,805, which is up 25.7% over the last 12 months. This is, compared to the national average, actually lower. It's 83.8% of the national average of $331,533. Now, all these numbers are according to Zillow as of September 2022, so they might have changed at the time that you're listening to this. So in general, the cost of a home in Tennessee is greater than it was 12 months ago. However, it is still cheaper than the national average. Now, switching over to the average cost of a home in Kentucky, you're looking at $200,144 as the cost of a home, which is definitely lower than Tennessee. That is up 13.9% in the last 12 months in the state of Kentucky, and is about 60% of the national average of $331,533. So when you're looking at just the cost of houses in the states, Tennessee versus Kentucky, you can definitely get a cheaper house in Kentucky versus Tennessee. Breaking down the capital cities of each state the same way with the cost of a home, Nashville is the capital city of the state of Tennessee, and the average cost of a home there is $420,533, which is also up 28.3% in the last 12 months. And it is more expensive than the national average, 126.8% of the national average. Now, Nashville is one of the fastest growing cities in the entire country, so that definitely makes sense. The housing costs in Frankfort, Kentucky, which is their capital city, average cost of a home $211,090, which is up 16.8% over the last 12 months. Again, this is way lower than the national average, 63.7%. So if you're looking at just the cost of a home, you could definitely get a cheaper house in Kentucky than in Tennessee. Now, breaking down the total tax rates in Kentucky versus Tennessee, this is going to get you to a closer view of the total cost of living in the states. So let's break it down. The total tax burden in Kentucky is 8.77%. Now, this is made up of income tax, sales tax, and property taxes put together. So 8.77% is 22nd out of 50 in the entire country, versus Tennessee, which is coming in at 5.75% total tax burden, which is the second lowest out of all 50. Only Alaska is lower. So when you're looking at the total cost of living in the states of Tennessee versus Kentucky, you can see that the cost of a home is lower in Kentucky. However, the tax burden is higher. So you'll just have to weigh out how your financial picture looks with the cost of a home and your tax burden in the states of Kentucky versus Tennessee. However, it's going to be about equivalent. Now, breaking down the taxes, income taxes in Kentucky come in at 3.26%, which is 10th highest out of all 50 states, whereas Tennessee is 0.06% and is 7th lowest out of all 50. Now, this is because the state of Tennessee does not have a state income tax. There are some corporate state taxes, but you have a 0.06% total income tax rate in Tennessee, which is one of the lowest, and you can see it's definitely lower than the state of Kentucky. So when you're looking at sales tax comparison of Kentucky versus Tennessee, Kentucky is lower at 3.62% compared to the 3.98% sales tax rate in Tennessee. We actually know that people that live in Tennessee oftentimes will go over the border into Kentucky just depending on what they need to buy in order to take advantage of lower sales tax. So when you're looking at property tax rates, Kentucky comes in at 1.99% tax rate compared to 1.7% of Tennessee. So Tennessee is lower. Just a little bit. It's second lowest in the entire country. Only Alabama has a lower property tax rate, and Kentucky is just above it at 1.99%, which is sixth lowest in the country. Something else that factors into the total cost of living comparison is utility bills. Now, this isn't really a big difference. The utility bills on average in Kentucky come in at about $339 a month compared to $305 in Tennessee, so just a couple dollars. Not really the biggest difference in the world. Where you're going to see the difference is in the cost of a home and your tax rate. So utility bills like water and electric, pretty close. Kentucky has about a $49 water bill compared to $43. Now, one thing we like to do in these comparison videos is compare the distance from one state to the other, because gas prices are going up and down, and gas has something to do with total cost of living. So we like to compare the distance from one state to another. So Tennessee to Kentucky, definitely interesting since we're border states. So it really just depends on what city you're coming from and going to. Now, if you were to drive from the capital city of Nashville, Tennessee to Frankfort, Kentucky, it would be about 209 miles or 3.5 hours. So not too far, not too much of an expense on the gas bill. Now, the main city in eastern Tennessee is Knoxville, and that you'll find is about 197 miles away from the capital city of Frankfort, or 3 hours. And if you were to drive from Louisville, Kentucky to Nashville, you'd travel around 176 miles, which is about 3 hours as well. So you can pretty much get from any main city in Tennessee to any main city in Kentucky in about 3 hours or 150 to 200 miles. So because Tennessee and Kentucky are so close to each other, your travel mileage will vary by about 100 miles just depending on where you want to go, but it'll never exceed 500 miles between the two states. Now, if you're looking at the time zones of one state versus the other, both states, Kentucky and Tennessee, are primarily located in the central time zone. Now, since they're stacked one on top of the other, each state has a small portion on the eastern part of the state that is in the eastern time zone, but primarily you're looking at the central time zone. Now, when you're looking at a comparison of living in Tennessee versus Kentucky as it pertains to the pace of life, Tennessee and Kentucky both have similar populations of people depending on where you're at in each state. Both states have large cities where you can find quite a mix of people, but they also have rural parts where you're likely to find very similar types of people. Kentucky is further north, but most parts of the state have a similar pace of life as Tennessee. When you're thinking about living in Kentucky or Tennessee, you're really looking at the opportunity for outdoor activities. Absolutely beautiful landscapes, a lot of water life, a lot of lake life, and a lot of scenery. Whether you're looking to live in Tennessee or Kentucky as far as outdoor activities are concerned, you're going to find that they're both fairly similar, with hiking opportunities, beautiful waterfalls, beautiful lakes, lots of activities like swimming, kayaking, and fishing, and for the most part, these states are very similar activity-wise all times of the year. Hopefully the comparison of the state of Tennessee versus Kentucky was helpful for you. If you've got any specific questions that you'd like to have answered about living in Tennessee, we would absolutely love to help you. Please visit our website at thetennesseelife.com/Kentucky for more information and a way to contact us and have a conversation. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon.